Welcome to the Limitless Human Design Podcast, where we're talking about all things business and human design. We're breaking through the limitations and status quo so you can be the most confident, empowered, and authentic version of yourself. My intention is that you'll walk away from each episode with a new perspective about business and human design. So if you're ready to step into confidence, live in alignment, and build your freedom lifestyle, let's dive in. All right, hello. Welcome back to season 3 of the Limitless Human Design podcast. I don't really go by anything specific when I start and stop seasons. It's really more of my own personal energy that I'm following in these seasons. There's a lot of times where I will get like this big rush of talkative energy, and then there are times where I'm just not very talkative at all. My energy kind of settles, and then I go into like this learning mode. So it's taken me a little bit to get kind of used to that, and obviously deconditioning from the standards of, well, this is how everybody else does it, so why aren't you doing it that way? It's like, you know what, ego brain, you can just stop, because we can have conversations in our mind, and that's fine. So, welcome back to season 3. I know you didn't ask, and who knows, maybe you're wanting to start a podcast and you're afraid that, you can't keep it consistent, or maybe you do the same thing with like social media posts where you're going through a phase where it's like, I'm always posting or I'm not posting at all. And either way, it's your energy and you're just following your energy. So, and this is something that I actually want to talk about today. It's about aligning with your energy and how your emotions can help direct you to where you want to go by using that energy, by using that emotional energy and really just being aware of it. So, in the spiritual community, we have this thing where we hear about how we need to, consistently not be in the feelings of anger or frustration or jealousy or, whatever it is, comparison, all that good stuff. All that stuff that makes us feel uncomfortable, that makes us question who we are, what we're doing, if we're doing the right thing, sends us into those spirals, those self-doubt spirals, that imposter syndrome, pretty much everything past, the positive environment, or the positive emotions, not environments. I mean, it is the environment. Anyways, the positive emotions of happy, content, bliss, like ease, flow, abundance, all these other emotions that we're used to using as our barometer, as our signpost that we're heading the right way. However, I want to give you a different perspective today about how even your, quote unquote, negative emotions that are stirred within you can help point you in the right direction. So I'm going to jump into first with our not self themes of bitterness, or if you're a different type, insert your other frustration, anger, disappointment, whatever it is for you. With bitterness, with your not self theme, it's a clear-cut sign that there is something out of alignment in this moment, or from what you just did, or, from what you were just thinking about. There is something that sparked this bitterness inside of you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you did something wrong. That's not what it's saying. What it's saying is something that happened was slightly or a lot out of alignment for you. So it doesn't mean that everything you did was wrong. It could mean that the energy in which you did it wasn't great. It could mean that the timing that was off, or could be that you posted it to the wrong platform, like you should have posted it to some other platform, like it would have, whatever it was. And I'm using these examples because this just happened to me recently. And I've gotten like this happens to everybody. And this happens more often than I think a lot of people are talking about. So here's just a large example. I wanted to post on, I don't even remember. I think it was about like how manifestors still have to wait and how generators can also feel burnout. It was pretty much like eliminating the separation between how projectors have to wait for the invitation and generators have to wait to respond and reflectors have to wait the lunar cycle. Like manifestors also have to wait too. And I use the example of Ra'uruhu as a 5-1 manifester. Like you can tell in the human design system where there's a personal bias that's coming out. And granted, he probably tried as hard as possible to keep all of his bias out of it. However, we're still human. He was still a human. This happens, and it's once you are aware of the fact that everybody does have their own personal bias, you can recognize that and feel like, oh, okay. So even though this says or they've said this specific thing, you have to realize that's their own personal bias. So if somebody tells you as you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, like, oh, it's so hard, like, oh, you'll never make it, whatever, that is their own personal bias. And granted, they might be, telling you that with the best intentions of, hey, I'm trying to save you and keep you safe from this fear and from this disappointment and from this, really hard, long process. But if you, as the person who wants it, you can still go for it. It doesn't matter what anybody else tells you. If it feels correct for you, by all means, you do it. And that's the same thing for the manifestor, like manifestor strategy with, to inform and initiate. And from what I've seen, because I have a few manifestors in my life, my brother is one of them. One of my brothers is one of them. I mean, I know obviously Ra'uruhu, and then I have a lot of Mani-gens, a lot of Mani-gens. But even still, like in the Mani-gens, the generator strategy is first, so they're still waiting in that sense. So let's just talk about like the manifestor specifically. Manifestors are non-sacral beings who also need to wait and rest and relax and take time to really cultivate just themselves before they can be initiated. It's not that they necessarily initiate, they do, but first they get initiated by something. This can be their like creative inspiration. This can be like what Ra'uruhu went through when he got that creative download of the human design system over that 8 days and 8 nights, whatever it was, and came out, made this. That was his big manifestor energy. And the other times, because he waited until he was 39 years old, 39 years of waiting for him to be initiated into creating something that changed the path of the world. And we're still talking about it years after he's already left this earth. That's the manifestor energy. But we still have and go through other energy through the transits as well. So before his, creative contribution of the human design system, he studied art, he studied business, he was a performer, he was a composer, like he did other things before human design. He was initiated into his trailblazing path. And I think that's one of the biggest things for manifestors. I know that probably most of the people who are listening to this are not manifestors, but it's likely that you have one in your life. So most manifestors tend to focus on the fact of, I need to do something, extraordinary. And it's like, you don't have to worry about that. It's not your job to worry about when you're going to have that creative download. That doesn't make sense. It's kind of the same thing as, a painter who waits for inspiration to paint. It's the same thing. And it's the same with us following our intuition. It's the same for us. We're all waiting. I totally got off on a whole different tangent. But we're gonna get back to this. Anyways, so I wrote this post. I had tangents on the tangents on the tangents. So, anyways, using your bitterness, using your emotions as a barometer, as an alignment signpost. So I wrote this post about how manifestors and still have to wait and generators also get burnout. We're not so different that we don't all feel these same things. And to me, like that was, I don't know, it was something that was a little bit more of an interesting topic that I felt like more people should have had not necessarily a response to, but like input on. Like if you disagree, if you agree, like, opinions, and difference and stuff like that. So it was really surprising to me that like nobody commented or nobody has commented on it yet. And it's funny to me because it's like, I know that my intuition said to wait on this post, and I did not listen. I did not listen. And here we are, feeling bitter. I mean, I don't feel bitter anymore, but I felt bitter after, like the first 24 hours of like, wow, like nobody cares. Like that's that's the bitterness thought is, wow, nobody cares like what I just said. And then, it's that spiral of, well, nobody cares about, what I have to say. Nobody sees me, nobody's hearing me. All this all this stuff of feeling unseen, unheard, unappreciated, and just like screw the world. Fine, if they don't want to hear it, then I'm not going to say it. Like that's big bitterness energy. So at least when you get really into that and you dive really deep into that bitterness cycle and that spiral, that's essentially what it boils down to. So the bitterness is really just a sign to show me, hey, you did this out of alignment. And then it's my job to be like, okay, well, why? What did I do? And obviously, I knew. And usually you will also know once you start listening more to your intuition, you'll start to see and you'll start to know quicker on when you're out of alignment and also what it was that you did that was out of alignment. For me, it's usually that I'm not waiting for the right time because I can be a little bit impatient for me to like speak my mind. And I know that that sounds kind of weird, but I mean it that's how it is. Like I still speak my mind, but I have to choose my time of when I allow that to be heard by other people. Hopefully that made sense. If it doesn't, message me on Instagram if you wanna know more. Um, Anyways, so that's like the bitterness, and that's the same thing for frustration, same thing for anger, same thing for disappointment. So if you're somebody who helps other people, understand when they're in alignment, when they're out of alignment, and how when they're following their intuition, stuff like that, that can be a really big help. And so that way also feeling bitterness or feeling you're not self-theme is not the end of the world. It's not a bad thing. It's not like you're being reprimanded or anything like that. It's just a signal. It's a signpost and it's awareness of, hey, something was off. You should look into this. It's kind of like getting that check engine light on your car. And is it annoying? Yeah. But wouldn't you rather know so that way you can fix it and like move forward? You know what I mean? So let's move past just the not self theme and let's go into actual emotions and other things to help with this. So this was something that my boyfriend and I were talking about. Um, I want to say earlier this week or last week, whenever it was, and he was telling me how he was so not used to me saying that I was jealous of something. And he said, you've said it twice now in the past like 2 weeks. He's like, the other 3 years we've been together, you have never said that you were jealous of anybody. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I tried not to be. And he was like, but I mean, look at it though, you know. So then we dove into it, we talked about it, self-projector vibes, diving into all the things, talking it out loud, getting just to hear what my own thought process is on it and why that was such a big deal. So he got the intuitive hit to let me know that that's something I need to look at. And I was actually really surprised by what I found because the jealousy, it wasn't like a jealousy that I stewed in. It was an awareness, it was a signal, it was a signpost. Hey, I want this. I want to be where that person is. I want this too. And that's it. That's what jealousy is. Jealousy is seeing somebody else have what you want and also wanting it. Because right now you know that you don't have it. That's what jealousy is. That's it. And for me, since I've been obviously in the spiritual realm for such a long time now, it's been a while. Like I don't think about trying to avoid these negative emotions anymore, but I do. And so now that's a subconscious thing for me to just breeze over that. So the fact that it's been slipping out recently was really shocking to me. And also the fact that he has never heard me say, I've been jealous of anybody else, but it also does make sense. So just looking at that jealousy, I was able to figure out, hey, I do actually want this. Because again, as a self-projected projector, I don't always know what I want. I have that undefined ego, the undefined emotional center, undefined sacral, undefined root, undefined splenic. There are so many different things that can show me what I want, but it's not very often something that's internal that I just already know. It's more like I see it outside of me and then I talk it out. I know I want it. There we go. So this jealousy was that signal. It was that signpost. And it was about the weirdest thing too, because for the past 2 to 3 years, it's something that I have consciously avoided. It was a desire that I consciously avoided because I had fears around the desire. I was jealous of somebody who had a lot of one-on-one clients. And for the longest time, I hadn't offered one-on-one sessions, or I hadn't offered, a capacity to work with me one-on-one because I was so fearful, that imposter syndrome that comes up of like, am I really like able to help this person? What if they have a problem that I can't solve and then that looks bad on me and then, they regret their decision to work with me and, the entire self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, fear spiral. Because I know I've been told by so many people, and I know deep down that I can help. And even if there is something that I can't help with, that's okay. I don't know everything about everything, but I do have a very good grasp of where to guide or how to guide somebody to their own answers. And that's more of what my expertise is. Yeah, I have advice. Of course I do. Like I have so much freaking experience as a sixth line. I'm 28. I'm almost, fingers crossed, almost through that major trial and error phase. There have been so many things. And even when I was first getting started as an entrepreneur, one of the first I was in a business course, and one of the first questions that they were like, oh, well, this is how to find your niche, was to ask your friends and family, hey, what would you come to me for? If you needed help with something, what would it be that you would come to me for it? And 9 out of 10 of my friends and family said everything. I'd come to you for anything. I'd come to you for everything. I already do. And it's like that one friend that didn't say that was like, I don't know. I don't know why are you asking? Like it was just something, I don't think that's exactly what he said, but there was something like he's a very sarcastic person and so he just answered very sarcastically. So, but either way, so like there's so much that I didn't realize that other people were telling me because I didn't think that was a specific thing to offer. which is guidance. Because I ask very insightful questions. So, anyways, we're gonna get back to the whole jealousy thing because again, too many tangents, too many offboards. Let's bring it back. So anyway, so I was feeling jealous of this person who had these one-on-one clients, and that I did not realize was a desire for me until I voiced I'm jealous of this person. And then my boyfriend was able to reflect that back to me and be like, I've never heard you say that you were jealous before. So what's that about, you know? And then I was able to talk it out, figure this all out, understand that, oh, I feel like this is something for me. You know, maybe this is going to be for me, maybe not. It was a very trial and error. It was just a very trial and error mindset of let's test it out. Let's see if this is something, because it doesn't just matter if I want to give that guidance. It matters that somebody else wants to receive that guidance as well. So now I've been in the testing phase of, you know, is this something that people want from me? Do you want to receive insightful questions, guidance, advice, you know, from me? And I'm really just being aware of who it is, what it's about, you know, that kind of stuff to figure out like, okay, I'm pretty much just in my market research phase right now of, is this something that you guys want? Is it or is it not? And it's fine either way. You know, it doesn't have to be. I'm sure at some point in my life, like this could even just be another signpost to something else. You know, it's like that you're taking intuitive steps forward. You can't see the destination, but you know that you're moving forward. And that's the point. You know, right now, even if I don't end up doing one-on-one sessions, if that's not something that people want from me, that's okay. That could lead me to my next step of, you know, whatever else that next step is. I can't even formulate some sort of imaginative next step because I don't know what that next step is. You know, but I'm trusting that I'm just going to get there because I know what it feels like when I'm aligned, and I know what it feels like when I'm unaligned. And it may sound weird to others, but jealousy in that moment was aligned because it helped me figure out, hey, I want this, I need to go this way. You know, so it's not just the good emotions like happy and content and fulfilling that are going to help you get to where you want to go. I firmly believe that if you let yourself not stew in the bad feelings, the negative feelings, but process, look at, and become aware of the actual feelings that you are feeling, the actual emotions that you feel whenever you feel them, that will help you move forward to the aligned place that you need to go. So, I feel like there was something else that I wanted to say on that, but I don't remember it. So, if you have any questions about this, feel free to message me on Instagram. Let me know. And let me know how season 3, the beginning of season 3, feels for you. I want to know if it's a clear difference to others. I've been told a lot recently by 3 or 4 different people now that my energy just seems so much different. And they're like trying to figure out why. This is why. It's because I've put so much importance on my own alignment and how I feel that I've not allowed anything else to sway me other than what I deem is the correct path for me. And it's just solid and certain, and here we are. And of course, obviously, there's other little points within that. It's not just this, but that's like the biggest aspect, the biggest difference, I would say. The most major difference is that importance of me doing things in alignment and just following that alignment. If you have any questions, DM me on Instagram, and I will see you in the next episode.